In 2010, Women's Wear Daily put Jessica Simpson on its cover and called her label fashion's billion-dollar baby. By 2014, the Jessica Simpson Collection was doing $1 billion a year in retail sales, across more than 30 product categories, rivaling Michael Kors. So in 2015, a publicly traded company called Sequential Brands, backed by KKR and Apollo, paid $117 million for the majority of it. Jessica kept 37.5% and her name on the door. 6 years later, that same company filed for bankruptcy, $442 million in assets against $435 million in debt, right after the SEC charged it with hiding a $304 million loss from its own investors. And to get her brand back, Jessica Simpson put up her house, drained her entire stock portfolio, and bought it out of the wreckage for $65 million. We traced every number through the SEC filings, the bankruptcy docket, and her own words. This is what those documents actually show. Start with the part most people get wrong, because it's the part that makes the ending land. The $1 billion was real. Jessica Simpson's share of it was not. Go back to 2005. Simpson was famous from Newlyweds, the MTV reality show where she asked, on camera, whether chicken of the sea was chicken or fish. That clip followed her for the rest of her career. What did not follow her was the deal she signed that same year. A footwear veteran named Vince Camuto, the man who had co-founded Nine West, paid $15 million for the license to put her name on a line of shoes. Camuto had spent decades reading the shoe business, and where the tabloids saw a punchline, he saw a saleswoman the American mall would trust. He was right. It worked almost immediately. By 2008, the brand was doing $300 million a year. By 2010, Women's Wear Daily called it the best-selling celebrity fashion line in America, spread across shoes, handbags, luggage, fragrance, dresses, denim, more than 30 categories by the end. You could walk into a Macy's, a Dillard's, a Lord & Taylor, and there she was, on the racks, in the shoe department, at the perfume counter. She was hands-on with it too, sitting in the design meetings, picking the shoes herself. By 2014, Forbes put the annual retail figure at $1 billion, which made the Jessica Simpson Collection one of the first celebrity brands in history to cross that line, moving roughly the same volume of product as Michael Kors. To picture how big that was, the brand reached more than 3,000 points of sale, and the fragrance it launched in 2008 became one of the best-selling celebrity perfumes on the market. But the structure underneath the empire is the thing to hold on to. Simpson's name sat on top of dozens of separate licensing deals. One company made the jeans, another the boots, another the luggage, and each of them paid a royalty back up the chain. She was the face and the signature on all of it, and she collected a cut of every category. But she owned almost none of the machinery that produced the $1 billion. Here's the mechanism that quietly explains this entire video. By some estimates, in the year the collection grossed $1 billion, Jessica Simpson personally kept only about 1% of it. Her name was on every single label. The money mostly flowed to the manufacturers who made the products, and, before long, to the company that owned the license. In January 2015, Vince Camuto died, and within months, the license to Jessica Simpson's own name was on the open market. The buyer was Sequential Brands Group, trading publicly under the ticker SQBG. And to understand what happens next, you need to know what Sequential actually was. It was not a fashion house. It was a brand licensing conglomerate, backed by heavyweight financial firms, including KKR and Apollo. And its entire business was buying up famous names and collecting the royalties. It owned Martha Stewart's brand. It owned Joe's Jeans. It owned Justin Timberlake's William Rast. And now it wanted the most valuable name in its whole collection. And that word, valuable, is not decoration. The Jessica Simpson brand was the single biggest revenue generator in Sequential's entire portfolio. Sequential's pitch to Wall Street was the asset-light dream: own the names, collect the royalties, carry no factories and no inventory risk, and let the licensees do the heavy lifting. Jessica Simpson was the crown jewel that made that pitch believable. Which is exactly what makes the collapse so strange, because the most valuable brand in the building could not stop what was coming. Here are the exact figures, pulled straight from Sequential's SEC filing. In April 2015, Sequential paid $117 million in cash plus stock for a 62.5% controlling stake in the brand. Jessica and her mother Tina kept the remaining 37.5%. On paper, Simpson had just cashed a 9-figure check and handed the day-to-day burden of a billion-dollar operation to a professional licensing machine with Wall Street money behind it. It looked from the outside like the perfect exit. It was the start of the worst 6 years the business would ever see. Because Sequential had a problem that had nothing to do with Jessica Simpson, and everything to do with how it had grown. It had bought all of those brands the way a lot of 2010s roll-ups did, with borrowed money, enormous amounts of it. And a company that runs on debt lives and dies by its covenants, the promises it makes to its lenders about how healthy its balance sheet has to stay quarter after quarter. By late 2016, Sequential's stock had collapsed, and the company's own internal calculations were flashing red. The value it carried on its books for the brands it owned, an accounting number called goodwill, was worth far less than what Sequential was claiming. Writing that number down would tear a hole in the financials and risk breaching those lender covenants. So, according to the Securities and Exchange Commission, Sequential simply refused to do it. It sat on the impairment. It kept publishing numbers that looked healthier than reality for the better part of a year. When the company finally faced it, the write-down was $304 million. Every dollar of goodwill on its books erased in a single charge. And the gap between what Sequential had told investors and what was actually true was staggering. Regulators would later lay out a picture where a loss the company had reported as under $1 million should have been more than 50 times bigger. Put in plain terms, Sequential was carrying its brands on the books at prices the market no longer believed, and admitting the truth would have set off its lenders. So it delayed the admission. For a public company, that is not a small thing. Investors were buying and holding the stock on the strength of numbers the company's own math already said were wrong. The market reaction was exactly what Sequential had been afraid of. Once the truth was out, confidence in the stock never really recovered. A company that had spent years telling Wall Street it was an efficient, asset-light royalty machine had just admitted that the value of its core brands was largely imaginary. From there, the direction was one way: down, and the only real question left was how long it could hold on. And this was not happening in a vacuum. All the while, Sequential was drowning in the debt from its buying spree, negotiating waiver after waiver with its lenders just to avoid tripping its covenants, and bringing in outside bankers to find a way out. The company that was supposed to be a clean royalty machine had turned into a balance sheet held together with extensions and hope. By 2019, the trouble was serious enough that Sequential hired an investment bank to weigh its options, which is what a public company does when it is quietly running out of road. Its debt ran into the hundreds of millions. Quarter after quarter, it went back to its lenders for another waiver, another extension, another few months of breathing room it had not earned. And the more of its own brands it sold off to raise cash, the smaller the engine got that was supposed to dig it out. A licensing company only works if it holds enough names to spread the royalties across. Sequential was now selling the names just to survive. which made every quarter that followed a little harder than the last. In December 2020, the SEC sued Sequential Brands over precisely this. And here's a distinction that matters, because a sharp viewer is going to ask about it. The SEC did not accuse Sequential of deliberate, intent to deceive fraud. The charge was negligence. A federal judge refused to throw the case out, and Sequential eventually settled without admitting or denying the allegations. And it paid no financial penalty at all, for one bleak reason. By the time the case was resolved, there was nothing left to collect. Even the outside auditor got caught in the wreckage, paying nearly $2 million to the SEC over its failures on the account. So look closely at what is actually happening here, because it is the whole story compressed into 2 sentences. The brand wasn't dying. The company that owned it was. Through every bit of this, the brand itself was still one of the best-selling fashion brands in the country, still moving hundreds of millions of dollars in product a year. It was the leveraged parent sitting on top of it, buried under its own debt and its own accounting, that was going under. And the signs were everywhere if you were reading the filings. Sequential churned through 5 different chief executive officers. To raise cash, it started selling off the brands it had paid a fortune for, unloading Martha Stewart's company to another firm for a reported $215 million. Its lenders eventually won the right to appoint a majority of its board, and directors began resigning, including Martha Stewart herself. The company issued going concern warning after going concern warning, the accountant's way of saying it might not survive the year. And a company in that condition does not fall quietly. It drags every asset it owns down with it. If you are the kind of person who wants the real number behind the headline, the filing behind the rumor, that is the entire reason this channel exists. Subscribe and stick around, because how Jessica Simpson clawed this brand back out of the wreckage is the part almost nobody bothers to tell, and it flips how you see her completely. On August 31st, 2021, Sequential Brands filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in Delaware. The petition listed $442 million in assets against $435 million in liabilities. The plan was blunt: auction off the brands, pay back the lenders, and shut the company down. Sequential's other names went where you'd expect. A firm called Galaxy Universal took the athletic brands in a deal worth over $300 million, with KKR financing it. Joe's Jeans went to another buyer. And the crown jewel of the entire portfolio, the Jessica Simpson Collection, went up for sale like a piece of office furniture. A billion-dollar name, sitting in a bankruptcy court, with a price tag hanging off it. Except there was something buried in the original paperwork, and it is the single most important detail in this whole story. When Jessica and Tina Simpson signed that first deal back in 2005, they had kept a clause that gave them approval rights over any future sale of the brand. Sit with that for a second. Anyone who wanted to buy the brand out of bankruptcy needed Jessica Simpson's permission to actually use the name, which meant that in reality, there was only one bidder in the entire world who made any sense at all: the woman whose name was on the label. That clause was the one piece of leverage she had left, and it came with a catch. It meant the only way to save the brand she had spent 16 years building was to buy it back herself, out of the rubble, with her own money, all of it. And this is the moment to understand why she was willing to. Because by the time the brand hit the auction block, Jessica Simpson had been bracing for this fight for 2 years. The turning point came in 2019. She was 34 weeks pregnant, hospitalized with severe bronchitis, her oxygen levels dropping, and it was in that hospital bed, she has said, that she and Tina decided they were done handing their name to someone else. What pushed her over the edge was the pandemic. Sequential, trying to cut costs, wanted to furlough nearly the entire small team that actually ran her brand, reportedly 7 of the 10 people keeping it alive, and she found that disrespectful in a way she could not let go of. Her framing of the decision was simple. They could sink with the ship, she said, or jump and hope to find a lifesaver, and the lifesaver was going to have to be themselves. She even turned to her own business manager, and when he hesitated about whether the fight was winnable, she told him that if he was not sure, he was fired, because being unsure meant he did not believe in her. So in September 2021, in bankruptcy court, the offer appeared. A family company called With You, Incorporated, owned by Jessica and Tina Simpson, bid $65 million to buy the brand back. It was what is called a stalking horse bid, the opening offer that sets the floor for a bankruptcy auction. If a rival outbid them, they could walk away. But the approval rights clause did exactly what it was designed to do. No serious competing bidder ever showed up. Why would they? You would be spending millions to buy a brand you could not fully use without the sign-off of the person sitting across from you at the auction. Now here is what that $65 million actually cost her, in her own words. To finance the buyback, Simpson has said she put up her house as collateral and liquidated her entire stock portfolio. Her own line about it is the cleanest summary of this entire video. Quote, "I drained everything to buy it back. And look at the arithmetic, because it is brutal." In 2015, Sequential paid $117 million for 62.5% of this brand. 6 years later, Jessica Simpson bought 100% of it back for $65 million. She reclaimed her entire company for barely half of what a single investor had paid for a chunk of it. The debt that destroyed Sequential is the exact reason the brand had been marked down, cheap enough for her to afford it in the first place. And this almost never happens. Founders lose their names to bankruptcy all the time, and they stay lost, absorbed into some holding company and licensed out to whoever bids highest. Simpson bought back the trademark and the entire operating business with it. The staff, the licensing relationships, the risk of running a fashion company in the middle of a pandemic, at a moment when she was, by her own account, financially tapped out. She has called it the scariest bet of her life. But she was not sitting on a pile of cash when the dust settled. This is the part that stays with people. In the months after betting everything to own her own name again, Jessica Simpson has said her credit card was declined at a Taco Bell drive-thru. She had to call her own mother for money, a woman who had built a brand that outsold Michael Kors, sitting at a fast food window with a card that would not go through, because every dollar she had was locked up in the deal. For 20 years, the public had one fixed idea of Jessica Simpson: the tuna question, the reality show airhead, the punchline. And that idea missed something enormous. While the world was busy laughing, she and her mother had built a brand that outsold one of the biggest names in American fashion. And when a licensing conglomerate with KKR and Apollo behind it drove that brand straight into a wall, the person who walked into a Delaware courtroom reached for a contract clause she had the foresight to protect 16 years earlier, and outmaneuvered an entire room of private equity lawyers to take her company back for a fraction of its value, was the so-called dumb blonde. The people who worked with her saw it long before the public did. One of Camuto's own former executives put it plainly that the reality show gave everyone the impression she was some ditz. But up close, he saw one of the most intelligent business people he had ever dealt with. And do not lose the investors in all this, because they are the quiet lesson. The shareholders who bought Sequential stock while it was hiding that $304 million hole took the loss. They later settled a class action against the company for just under $10 million, a deal a court finalized in early 2025. The people who trusted the polished public numbers got burned. The woman everyone underestimated read the fine print. Since the buyback, Jessica Simpson has run the brand herself. In 2022, the collection landed a new $67.5 million loan from an outside lender and kept right on operating. In 2024, it launched an exclusive line with Walmart, around 100 pieces, most of them priced under $30, and it is still on the shelves at Dillard's, Macy's, and Nordstrom Rack today. She owns all of it now, 100% of the brand, the name and the business together, back in the family's hands. So the next time you see the headline that Jessica Simpson built a billion-dollar empire, remember what the filings actually say underneath it. The billion was retail, run through other people's factories, and she only ever saw a small piece of it. The thing that dragged the brand into bankruptcy was the debt-loaded conglomerate sitting on top of it, exactly as the court records show. And she got the whole company back for one reason. The reality show punchline had quietly been the sharpest operator in the room the entire time. She bet her house on it, and she won. If you want to see the other side of this exact game, the artists and founders who signed the deal Jessica Simpson refused to sign and never got their names back. That story is already up on the channel, and it is waiting for you right now.